There we go. Perfect.
Hi.
There you go. So, Abby, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing good as well. Thank you so much for asking. So, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. That's super cool. Now, before we start, I have to give you an epic welcome to the show. So, if you have seen some of my episodes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's okay. Let me show you.
Woohoo!
I know it's super epic. I know.
No, it's cute. I liked it.
Perfect. So now, starting with the whole interview, tell me how your passion for acting started.
So my passion for acting started in the 7th grade. I had to opt out of a reading class and take a theater class instead.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, the teacher found favor in me and she put me in the lead. And I just found a lot of healing through acting at that time in my life.
Okay.
And then as I've matured, I haven't found anything else that I love as much. So it's where I've stayed, and I love the craft now. I love the connection to other people now. It feels like every year that I do it, I find more reasons to love it.
There you go. That's awesome. It's amazing. Now, starting with your acting career on theater, so you have been in several plays such as Safer Than Home, Animal Farm, The Tempest, Edgar Allan Poe, Tales of the Grotesque. You can take it with you, An Ideal Husband, Men on Boats, The Program, and Dead Man's Cell Phone. So let's start with Safer Than Home. Was that like your first play? And can you tell me about that? What are some of the things that you remember from that first experience?
So Safer Than Home wasn't my first show.
Okay.
I actually have taken off all my first credits from my resume just because, you know, they were from the beginning. My first show was that one that I had mentioned a little bit earlier, and it was called Touch Tone M for Murder, and it was a murder mystery. And I just remember the community that I was able to foster with everybody else involved, and also the way that it made me feel. I mean, anytime you perform, there's like an adrenaline rush, there's the excitement, and it's almost like a high. For people that like performing, it really does feel that way. And so that's what I remember from that first experience. But Safer Than Home was my college program focused a lot on devised theater as well. So it was a devised piece that I made with a group of other theater artists.
Okay. Wow. And I mean that is awesome. And tell me more about it. I mean, what was your reaction how was your reaction after that play? After the play was done, how did you feel? Like, tell me about it.
So that's a show that I'm really, really proud of because we as a group decided to make a piece of theater that was about things that were important to us. So it was a lot about sex trafficking and the immigration crisis and people being displaced, and so both of those things it was about. And what made it special was that because it was in my college program, we got to premiere it at an off-Broadway venue, and then we also got to take it to Stara Zagorja, Bulgaria. So Stara Zagorja, Bulgaria, which was cool.
How cool is that? That's awesome. I mean, and the fact that you touch with so many topics that we are living this day, that's really cool. Wow.
Yeah, and it's like when I look back, was it like the best technical, best storytelling that I've ever done? Probably not, but we really put our heart and soul into what it was about, and so I look back and I'm so proud of that experience. Absolutely,
that is amazing indeed. Now, moving on here, what about The Tempest? I mean, you played as Iris. Tell me about your character in that play.
Yeah, so I keep that on my resume for a very specific reason, because it's Shakespeare, and I'm trained in Shakespeare, so I want to reflect that on my resume. It's funny enough, they ended up creating, that character is like a fairy that has like a monologue during a wedding scene, and they turned part of that monologue into a song, and so I look back and a lot of the times that I got to sing were like in plays and not in musicals. So that was what was special about that for me. It's like really getting to sing on stage for one of the first times.
That's really cool. And tell me, what do you think is the key aspect to play a character in theater?
So that's probably different for every actor. For me, I need to find my way in. So what is it about that character that is similar to me enough that I can find my compassion in for that character, and then everything else, like, then you get to find the parts that are unlike yourself. So once you have that in, then I start to dive into the things that are unfamiliar to me and see how I can relate to those things on a different level.
Okay. Wow. That's really cool. And let's talk about Edgar Allan Poe, Tales of the Grotesque. What are some of the things you enjoyed about that play, and also about your character?
So that was an original piece. I was in the first cast of that. And what was cool about that is that I played a character that was a real person. So I played Edgar Allan Poe's wife, Virginia Clem Poe. And I guess something memorable about that role is that I died of TB on stage. Like, I was singing and then I coughed up blood, and it was very dramatic and a fun memory.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. That's awesome. Now, let's talk about a meditation on bad habits by Ed Sheeran. I mean, what are some of the things that you enjoy about a play? Because it's a Zoom play, right? So what are some of the things that you enjoyed about that project?
So that project specifically was in like a 24-hour play festival. So we all met at like 7 p.m. on like a Friday, and then the playwrights were given 12 hours to write plays, so overnight, and then we met in the morning and we had 12 hours to rehearse and put up this original piece. So that was what was cool about that, is it was really like an entire day of Zoom rehearsals, and then something that didn't even live in a thought like came to life within 24 hours. That's
so amazing, the fact that you pretty much mount a play in that much of a time. I mean, I'm super sure that it was, all hush hush, but at the end of the day, that the fact that you make it happen, that's really cool. Wow. Yeah,
it was a new experience for me. People do these things all the time, like the 24-hour festivals, and so I wanted to give it a shot.
There you go, and you got it done. So
yeah.
Perfect. Now, from all of your different performances on theater, which one has been the deepest learning curve? I mean, the performance that you learned the most lessons from?
That's a great question. I would probably have to say any of the pieces that that were devised, that were created collaboratively, just because it's so many different people all coming in with different ideas, and I learned the most about my communication styles and talking with other people, and it's really hard work, but it's so fulfilling. So definitely anytime that we were making something from either a short story, or we were making something from like just an idea, trying to create a full piece out of that was always the most challenging, and where I learned the most.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, moving to your acting career, on films. So you've been in Dating Night, The Reality, and Ringing a Matchbox. So tell me, what are some of the difference between theater and on a film set that you noticed? Like some of them that got your attention, like, oh, this is different.
Yeah. I think the biggest difference for me as a performer from theater and film is that theater, you have all of these rehearsals. You have where it's just on the acting, like it's just the acting and the directing, and you have all this time for that. Where film, there doesn't tend to be that much time for that. It's sort of like you're supposed to show up and just know what you're doing. And truthfully, like, you're one of the smallest pieces in everything. Like it's higher stakes, and the camera and the lighting and all those things tend to be more important. So your performance just needs to be there. It's and it can be smaller too. Theater, it's that thing that people always say, theater tends to be a bit bigger as a performance style.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And also the audience, right? I think the fact that you get, I mean, on theater, that you get to be with the audience, you can see the reaction, you know, like, or like that connection that you're building. I think that is also a huge difference when you're on a film set, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes as a theater performer, like I had grown up learning to take from the audience, to adapt to the audience, even if it's just subconsciously. And so not having that on film, it's interesting. It plays two different parts for me. It's either it allows me to be more focused in, or but also like with comedies and things, having an audience is it's better for me. So it's definitely, and like you just have to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree on that. That's really awesome. Now, back to the films here. So in those films, you were the lead. So tell me, what did you enjoy the most about those ones?
So those were my first film experiences, which were, so that was a learning curve for me anyway. I guess what I enjoyed the most about those films was just trying the new platform. Like it was some of the first times I was also getting paid to perform, which is amazing. So I enjoyed experimenting. Like it was like, how does this read if I do it smaller than how I would normally do it? It's getting to live more in the quieter parts of the character, I think were most exciting for me.
Love it. And how you usually prepare to play a character?
So it depends on the project, but my process tends to be reading the script a bunch of times, and then sort of jotting down everything that I learn about the character, and then also everything that other characters say about the character behind her back, or to her face, or to their face. And then from there, I start to look at things that I say that I don't understand. So I'll start to circle things that it's like, I don't connect to that. Like, what is that in there? So then I will start to create either a backstory or an explanation for myself, so that when I then perform it, it makes sense and I don't have to think about it. I'm just able to connect. And those tend to be my biggest things that I do to prepare. And it all, like, I'll shift and change depending on the character.
Yeah, of course. That is really awesome. And about those films that you that you've been with, what do you enjoy the most about those ones?
I guess doing films, it's connecting. I mean, I think that's gonna always be my favorite thing about acting, is connecting with the other actor. I feel like it sounds counterintuitive in some ways because we're playing pretend, but I never feel so connected to people than when we're like, it's like a raw emotion thing. It's like a fully welcoming in another person. Even if your character's guarded, it feels so safe, and like you just get to really experience life in ways that you normally wouldn't. Yeah,
absolutely. That is awesome. Here now, from all of the characters that you have played on theater and on film, which ones could you relate the most with?
So the one that strikes me the most when I think about this is I had a theater ensemble where we created from a short story a play called Ava Wrestles the Alligator. And it was about a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old girl whose parents are no longer like on this swamp that they live in, and it's just them battling with grief. And I was also battling with grief around the same time that this was happening, the play. And so I was able to heal alongside the character and like feel some of the big things that I had been afraid to feel as a person. And it really, like, saying goodbye to that character was so painful for me in a lot of ways because she had helped me so much.
Wow. That's deep, by the way, but yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
You know, I find it interesting because, I mean, it's so nice that whenever that you can use, for example, acting, right, or for some people music, or like you can use art in order to let go, or in order kind of to heal from some situations that you had. You know, I think that is kind of one of the beautiful things about art, that you can get yourself kind of in this healing process, you know. So I find it very very interesting and at the same time amazing. So
yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's taking away from the self-serving part of me.
yeah,
that's a big part of why I'm still in this job, why it's still in this career, is that I want to use this art form to help others, to allow them to feel these big emotions that maybe they didn't even realize that they needed to feel. Or even if it's comedy, like people have a long, hard day, like they want to come home and unwind, and comedy serves that purpose. I think that's what makes film, TV, and theater so special.
Yeah, totally, 100%. Great. Now, tell me about Quarantine Leap. I mean, you were the guest star in that project, but yeah, tell me more about it.
Sure. That was a super fun project. James Ward, the director, reached out to me and asked if I wanted to be a part of it, and I was thrilled. It was collaborative as well. It's the story of this guy that uses a transverse machine to like jump into another person's body, and then he gets stuck leaping into other bodies like every 24 hours. So I got to be in my own body, but be pretending to be him who had leaped into my body. And I got to bring one of my best friends along. It was a super fun project that was very unique, very much like in this quarantine, you know, that's that special brand of content that we're gonna look back on. It's like the quarantine content. It was a fun experience.
That's amazing. Now you also have a YouTube page in which we will see a couple of videos in which you are singing. So tell me, where does your passion for singing started?
I have had such an interesting relationship with singing. I had wanted to be a singer when I was young, and then I never wanted to sing again because I was insecure about it, and then I started to sing again. I really enjoy playing the ukulele and singing. I think it's a nice art form that I feel like there's no pressure on me for. I sort of do it for myself, and then if I feel like it, like I'll post a cover. I try not to think too much about it because I find singing to be really therapeutic for me. Okay,
that's great. Now, from those songs that we will see on your YouTube page, which ones you enjoy the most?
I tend to sing a lot of Billie Eilish. I love where her voice, like her range sits in my voice. So I tend to sing a lot of her music, just because I find it fun and I love her music. I'm a big fan.
That's perfect. Now, if you could describe your career at the moment on a song, what would be the title of it?
Probably something like Just Getting Started, or like Who Knows What'll Happen, The Future, things like that.
Okay. Then I think we have the title for an album at some point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That is really awesome. Now, I wonder, like, what motivates you to keep going forward with your career? I mean, we will see on your resume and with the content you have here and there that you actually put like a lot of effort on those, and which is amazing because you can totally tell that you're super talented. So I wonder, like, what keeps you going? What keeps you motivated each day, regarding if you're having a bad day or a good day, that you will keep going forward?
Well, thank you for the compliments. For me, it's this exciting part of this career, which is I never know what will stick. I never know where I'll be. I never know, like, you send in an audition and you don't hear anything at all, and then 4 months later you're like cast in this role, or 10 years later they think about you for something else. I think that's what keeps motivating me, is that I love the work and it's exciting. Like, I just never know. There's no straight trajectory. It's like a choose your own adventure almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the key to whenever you will start like a project or building like your own dream, that you have to be with this excitement, you know, and that there's gonna be good moments, but at the same time there might be some awkward, bad moments, but you will need to take them as lessons in order to continue growing on your career, you know.
Exactly. It's like you never know which like horrible heartbreak was actually a door that will open like in 5 years. So I guess that's how I continue to try to do my best work with everything that I do, because you really never know. You never know what it'll mean for your future.
Love it. And my last question here, what message can you say to those who recently started working on their dreams?
I feel like I'm one of those, but I would probably say, like, work as hard as you can and take the rest that you deserve, and take everything with a grain of salt. It's like, work so hard, and then remember it's still your dream. Like, you should still be excited about it. You should still love it. And I think people get really bogged down by how fast or how slow something is happening, and it's like, it's the cliche that everybody says, which is like, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I think that's something I have to remind myself of constantly.
Yeah. So I mean, I do think also that we are still living in this kind of society in which we are used to get everything fast.
Yeah.
You know, like the work process. I mean, we understand it, but when we need to apply it, it's gonna take us a lot of time in order like for us to get used to. Since, I mean, we already got used to this type of thing that we want something, you get it right away, you know. But I think that at the same time, if you got like something like that right away, you wouldn't be able to enjoy it. You know, it's like when you were a kid and they give you like this toy that you want, you will play it for a bit, but then you will throw it away because you don't know, like you don't care because it didn't cost you. You know what I mean? So the fact that you are working on something and little by little you start to see like some great things here and there, I think that also kind of fuels you again to keep up going, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like the thing that they say where instead of just Googling information that you want to learn, try to recall it from your brain. It's like the more mental energy and the harder you work for something, the more it sticks.
There you go. Well, Abby, we finished the whole interview here, so congratulations. So I'm starting this new thing in which we have 2 levels of epicness. So since we finished the interview here, let me show you the first level. Here we go.
Perfect.
That's awesome. And before I give you the last one, I want to say thank you so much for being here. It was really inspiring and really awesome to have you here on the show. I think those who tune in can totally agree that you are definitely an awesome actress, and we can wait to see more of your career growing. You know. Also, thank you so much for those for tuning in. If you are listening this later on the podcast or watching this later on the YouTube video, normally what I would say is for you to put pause, hydrate, and then follow Abby in all of her social media. A lot of likes here and there, sharing, why not, and then come back. And again, Abby, thank you so much. I wish you an amazing rest of the day, an amazing week, an amazing career, and just amazing results everywhere, you know?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Dan. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Now, before I send you off, now it's time for the epic send-off. So here we go.
Woo-hoo.
All right. So keep being awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.
Perfect. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.